Welcome back. You're still watching SA Today. Sad news coming out of Zimbabwe. Dumiso Dabengwa, the former leader of the ZANU African People's Union, has died. Reports say that Dabengwa died in Kenya whilst returning from India, where he was going for a medical treatment.
Dumiso Dabengwa is well known as a liberation fighter in Zimbabwe. He was a former intelligence chief of the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Party, ZIPRA, during the fight for independence in the 1970s. Dabengwa was not active in ZAPU politics and had indicated that he was intending to step down from leadership position at the party's coming Congress. After his fallout with the then President Mugabe, he announced in 2009 that he was withdrawing from a unity pact signed between ZANU-PF and ZAPU in 1987. During the lead-up to the removal of former President Robert Mugabe from office, Dabengwa was scathing against Mugabe's leadership style.
Mugabe must accept the package that is being given, decide whether he's going to stay in his home in Zimbabwe or if he thinks he wants to go to one of the palaces that they have right around the world, let him go and do that.
And last year, during national elections in Zimbabwe, he backed MTC leader Nelson Chamisa.
A simple decision, and it is either to maintain the status quo, vote for the status quo, which is represented by Mnangagwa, or vote for a fresh start, which in my case is represented by Chamisa.
Dabengwa had a strong relationship with the ANC, which dates back to dark apartheid days. Although weakened by ill health in his last days, he is immortalized in Zimbabwe's history books as a freedom fighter. Abongile Tumago, SABC News.
Well, to give us a little bit more insight into who Dumiso Dabengwa was and his contribution to Zimbabwe, I'm now joined by political analyst Dr Pedzisai Ruhanya. Thanks so much for joining us. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
All right, so I guess there's no doubt about his struggle credentials. He was a struggle hero.
He was not just a struggle hero. He is one of the founding fathers of the Republic of Zimbabwe. In 1980, when Zimbabwe got independence, he was one of the key leaders. He was a nationalist, he was a freedom fighter, he was a father, he was a Zimbabwean. He gave his life to the liberation of Zimbabwe. He contributed during the struggle for independence, and in post-independent Zimbabwe, in the post-colonial state, he played a significant role, both when he was in ZANU and when he left ZANU. But there's something very fundamental about Dumiso Dabengwa, is that during the struggle, he was with the masses during the struggle, he fought with the masses during the struggle. At a young age, he went to the struggle in the 60s. He was in his early 20s, 20, 21. He fought for the liberation of Zimbabwe. And when he died, he was with the people. He opposed his former colleagues in the struggle in the manner in which they were leading or they are leading the country. He thought it was time to have a fresh start, just like they were youngsters in the 60s who liberated the country. He thought that the future of the Republic lies in young people, just like they liberated the country in the 60s, and he thought it was time up for the nationalist generation.
All right, let's go through the different phases of his life and the younger years and the struggle years. And he was one who led from the front, went for military training, and was right in the thick of it alongside his fellow soldiers.
Yes, he was in the thick of it. He fought alongside with the late Solomon Mujuru. They trained together, General Mujuru. They trained together in ZIPRA. You would realize that Mujuru was formerly with the ZIPRA. Then he crossed to ZANU. He fought, and he was the intelligence supremo of the Zimbabwe People's Liberation Army, called ZIPRA, led by then the late Vice President Ngomo. He did quite a lot. When we are talking about the history of Zimbabwe, you can't talk about the history of Zimbabwe without talking about Dumiso Dabengwa. You can't talk about the liberation struggle without talking about Dumiso Dabengwa, because he was at the top echelons of the liberation armed struggle of the Republic of Zimbabwe, then Rhodesia.
All right, so then they come back from the bush, the new dispensation comes in, And people will look at the history books and they'll see that he was Minister of Home Affairs 1992 to 2000. But there was a difficult history before that, wasn't there, between him and President Mugabe and ZANU-PF?
Yes, in the early 80s, you remember that there was the Gugurahondi massacres, in which the ruling party led by Mugabe engineered an onslaught against the supporters of the then the late Vice President Joshua Ngomo, based on their differences and contradictions during the liberation struggle. But it turned out to be an ethnic cleansing of sorts, where thousands of civilians were killed for supporting ZANU, and he was arrested together with the late Lookout Masuko, who was the commander of Zipra forces. He was acquitted of any wrongdoing, of any criminal activity, or any sabotage of the state, of any treasonous activities against the government. But he was detained at Zimbabwe's maximum prison called Chikurubi for 4 years without any, any meaningful criminal activities. And then he was released, and when he was released, unfortunately, the late Lookout Masuko died. He was at Paranyatwa Hospital, one of the big hospitals in Harare, where he was in chains, where he was arrested, and he died on his hospital bed. He then joined the 1987 Unity Accord out of persuasion from Dr. Ngomo, but also his need for peace.
Sincerely in his heart, though, or was it? Was there something that he felt sincerely in his heart? Because eventually, in 1987, he broke away again from ZANU. Did he have high hopes, or this joining of this Unity Accord? At
that point, it was important for him to save the lives of people who were being massacred on trumped-up charges. That's like you see, currently people are being arrested for cooked-up, trumped-up charges. So in order to save the lives of many people, but also when they went to war, their agenda was to bring peace, unity in the country, prosperity in the country, stability in the country. So the quest for national stability, national redemption, national development forced them to have peace. Okay. And they had peace in 1987 in order to foster the aspirations of the struggle.
And in his later years, he withdrew from ZANU-PF, reformatted ZAPU, and started to support opposition politics in the country, hoping for a change.
Yeah, it was his realization that the former nationalists under Mugabe and current President Mnangagwa were no longer fit for purpose. You do realize that in 2008 he supported Mavambo, led by one Dr. Simbamakon, who was also from ZANU. But his decision to do that was preceded by huge political and economic crisis, where you had the falling of the Zimbabwean dollar, where we had the Zimbabweans earning trillions and billions, and it was also preceded by violence against opposition parties, where Tsvangirai the late was beaten like a criminal, and leading to the talks that led to the 2008 election. So what made him to leave ZANU was that politics of violence, politics of repression, but also the decomposition and corruption of the political under Mugabe was there for everyone to see. So he thought it was an opportune time to redeem the politics of the state, to redeem the economy of the state by supporting new things.
All right, we've run out of time, but should he be buried at Heroes Acre? Lookout Masuku wasn't. He'll be sad about that.
Lookout Masuku was not buried at the Heroes Acre then, but he was declared a national hero, but I think his relatives decided that he should not be there. But that Dabengwa is a national hero is unquestionable. If you do a political survey among Zimbabweans, whether in MDC, ZANU, across the political divide, across the ethnic divide, across gender, and any other differences that Zimbabweans have, there's no doubt that Dabengwa is a national hero. To declare him is simply to fulfill what is known by everyone.
What he's lived. We're going to have to leave it there. Unfortunately, we'll run out of time. But thanks so much indeed for giving us valuable insights and the contribution this man made to Zimbabwe. Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Ruhanya.